One of the most common things that I hear is that, Gila, I go down all the worst case what ifs. I'm spiraling into this place where I just fear that every little thing is going to kill me. And I tell them, well, if you can spiral downward, let's teach you how to spiral upward. Because if you've gotten yourself into this state of anxiety, we can teach you with hypnosis how to regulate it and pull yourself out. Hello, I am Gila Zak, certified hypnotherapist, and welcome to this episode of the G-Spot. This is the place where we talk about all sorts of interesting things related to human behavior and hypnosis. And today the topic is going to be health anxiety. This is a big one. I see it all the time. And it falls under the umbrella category of catastrophization, catastrophizing everyday experiences that relate to our health. Now, this is often very generally an issue that comes from a fear of losing control in a very specific area of our life, and that is our health. Now, let's be clear. We all want to be concerned about whether or not we have a health issue, but some people take every little freckle, every little cough, every little, discomfort, and they blow it up into an experience where they are absolutely certain that they are dying. I see this happen a lot when children learn this from their parents. So yes, if you're watching this and you are a parent, your children are observing how you relate to your world with your health, and they are modeling that behavior. Very often when I ask a person with hypnosis, when is the first time that you can remember being afraid for your health? And the child will very often say, while they're in their childlike mind in hypnosis, well, I saw my mom do it, or my grandmother, or I come from a family of worry warts. If you learn this behavior, you can unlearn it. Oftentimes, I will often see people have this fear of a health catastrophe because at a very formative age or at a very specific time in their life, they lost somebody very unexpectedly. They just haven't quite processed this very normal experience of death. And so the subconscious is constantly trying to problem solve and predict, and it thinks that the same thing is going to happen tomorrow to someone else that they love or to them. Now, health anxiety is something that we want to take seriously enough, but we also want to teach a person not to give the energy and the influence to something that hasn't even happened yet. One of the most common things that I hear is that, Gila, I go down all the worst case what ifs. I'm spiraling into this place where I just fear that every little thing is going to kill me. And I tell them, well, if you can spiral downward, let's teach you how to spiral upward. Because if you've gotten yourself into this state of anxiety, we can teach you with hypnosis how to regulate it and pull yourself out. Now, if you've seen any of my episodes, you have learned that the subconscious mind is always trying to problem solve and predict. It's doing this as a way to protect us from perceived emotional or physical pain. And when people experience health anxiety, catastrophization, what they're trying to do is they're trying to prove a problem that doesn't exist. So think about this for a minute. You're trying to prove a problem that is not there. And it doesn't make any sense logically. It doesn't feel good physiologically. But what the hypnosis can do is help us to realize that we don't need to give our energy to that particular issue that doesn't exist yet. If it comes our way, we'll deal with it, but it's not happening in the now. We can clear this distortion of the mind, this time illusion that the future is already happening today. I'd like you to think of your symptoms or your diagnosis as ingredients. You might have some of the ingredients for a particular outcome, but you don't have all of them. Sometimes people will come to me with real life conditions. They'll say, I have high blood pressure, I have type 2 diabetes, I have this issue, that issue. Oh my God, I think I have cancer too. Stop putting yourself in the category that you have some, life-threatening or terminal illness when you don't. You might have a marker or two here or there, but you don't have everything to have that outcome. Where the hypnosis helps here is to really clear that veil that's seeing everything as an all or nothing proposition. So when we go into the hypnotic states with clients like this, we help to anchor them to the here and now. Right now, in this moment, I'm okay. Even if I am going through a health issue or a crisis of sorts, in this moment, I'm not dead. In this moment, I'm still living and breathing. And then we build upon this and we anchor to future states of expectation of wellness and wholeness. Now, when we see people with health anxiety, as I mentioned, it's generally a fear of losing control. And this is a common theme for a lot of people across the board. When we have a fear of losing control, we've hypnotized ourselves to believe that we can control something. And the truth is, there's only one thing that you and I can control ever. And that is how we choose to think and feel in the moment. And I like to empower people by reminding you that you and you alone are the spiritual authority of your mind and body. So when it comes to your health, if you don't have any reason to be worried about your physical well-being, then choose something different. The hypnosis can help you to interrupt the pattern of the negative thinking, which can become a habit for many people. Yes, negative thinking is just like any other habit. We can break it with hypnosis. But when we interrupt that pattern and we say, how do I choose to feel in the moment? This is the place where we can begin to see the reality that we're fine. Nothing is happening to us to affect our mortal well-being in this moment. Now, when I work with people who have health anxiety because they are going through a very specific illness, this takes on a different flavor. This is the space where hypnosis can help you to recognize where you are realistically, but also to create a space and a place for positive possibility. Now, I like to use the word hope, and a lot of people do. And if you think of hope as an acronym, it's holding on to positive expectations or holding open positive eventualities. So when we're working with people who do have really significant diagnosis and they're experiencing a lot of health anxiety, it can go a long way just to find that place and space where that little flicker of hope is there. Hope is a state of being. It is not a feeling. Feelings are fleeting. But that place of hope that we can connect to can help someone ride those waves of anxiety that will naturally come in a more calm and confident way. Now, sometimes people have health anxiety because they themselves have gone through a very impactful experience where they felt really threatened, that they thought that maybe they might not make it. And so again, the subconscious is trying to predict what's going to happen tomorrow. It thinks that it's going to go through that again. But in truth, it's very likely not to happen for so many people. Now, ways that this can manifest is what we call white coat syndrome. You go to get your blood pressure taken and your blood pressure naturally spikes. It can manifest with a fear of needles, not wanting to get your blood drawn, because during that time when you were sick, you had your blood pressure taken a lot, you had to have blood drawn, so the sight of blood or even just the word blood can send people into a panic. But the idea here is that that health anxiety, that moment that you experienced, has become imprinted on the present. And where the hypnosis comes into play is we can reconsolidate that particular experience. We can change the memory. We can't erase it, but we can give it a different meaning, a different context. And when we give it a different feeling, why, then we can go into getting our blood pressure taken, getting our blood drawn just for every regular routine reasons, and not have to go into the health anxiety piece of it. Another thing that I like to do with hypnosis is if someone has gone through a difficult medical experience in a hospital or a clinic or a program, whatever it is how can we reframe it so that they can see the experience in a way that was really helpful and curative? People will often say to me, Gila, I have health anxiety and I just the thought of a hospital will send me. And when we get into it, if they had to visit someone in the hospital or someone that they loved died in the hospital, or they went through their own experience in a hospital that was very, very stressful and very, very traumatic, sometimes just by changing the lens through which we view this experience has a profound and positive difference for us. So an example of this is, what would it be like to consider that, this hospital, this clinic, it was just an outpost of, let's just say, heaven. And that all those people wearing scrubs and stethoscopes and coming with all the equipment, they're just like these earth angels that have come to help you get through this experience. And it doesn't really matter what your spiritual background or your religious beliefs are. Everybody has some kind of concept of what heaven on earth would be, or what heaven could be, or what an angel could be. And let's be real here. Hypnosis is playful, it's imaginative. So if you imagine that experience, while was not ideal, did work out ideally for you, because here you are today, healed and recovered, you can shift that representation of health anxiety into something that you can look back and reflect upon and realize that maybe you were really cared for. Maybe these people that didn't even know you knew enough to care for you and brought you through a very difficult time. So think about that for a moment. If you've had a difficult experience with a health issue, how could you change the story to reflect something better for you? Now, an example of phobic health anxiety is somebody who's never had a reason to have this issue, but they've associated it into it. And an example of this would be at a very fragile, at a very hypersuggestible moment, we hear about something that jars us enough that we put ourselves in the experience as if it's actually has happened. And the subconscious mind is powerful. It's fucking powerful. It's clever, but it is also quite simple. And so if it believes something could happen, then that is what it will expect will happen, because that's what the hypnosis is. Hypnosis is happening to us all the time, but it's when what we are thinking, it is what we are feeling becomes a belief. That's when the hypnotic experience has taken place. You know, trance feels good, to be in a therapeutic setting and just have a complete absence of stress. But real hypnosis is happening to you and me every day, all the time. And with health anxiety, it is a belief that something could come out of nowhere and take us or someone else that we love out just like that. But it's not true. So, with therapeutic purposes, we dehypnotize the client to that particular belief and install an alternate belief, one that serves the same purpose of protection, but without the anxiety. So wrapping it up, health anxiety. There are solutions, and hypnosis can help you. And essentially, when you understand that you don't need to try to prove a problem that doesn't exist, this is where the magic happens. So if you have enjoyed any of this segment, if you found it helpful, chances are you know somebody that has this issue. Share the video with them. Let them know that hypnosis can help. And if you have any of your own comments or feedback, please leave them below. I always love to interact with people who are interested in the same kinds of things that I am. If you would like to, you can subscribe and share. That always helps me to get this information out there. But for now, I appreciate you spending time with me here on the G-Spot. Okay, here's to your health.